I was coming down the stairs, my own stairs, when I heard them. It was just past 10 in the morning, a bright Tuesday. I still had my robe on. I was moving slowly, not because I couldn't move faster, but because, well, why rush? It was my house. I was coming down for a second cup of coffee, and that's when I heard them. Not just talking, but laughing. It was a low, quick laugh from my daughter-in-law, Jennifer. Hushed, like she was sharing a secret. And then my son, Greg, said the words that I will never, ever forget. He said, "She's so easy to handle. A few more weeks, and she'll be begging to go into that nice, quiet home." I froze. Right there, on the third step from the top. My hand gripped the oak banister, so hard my knuckles turned white. I could feel the ridge of the wood digging into my palm. A home? They were talking about me, my own son. They were talking about putting me in a home. My heart didn't pound. It didn't race. It just stopped. It felt like a cold, heavy stone just dropped right into my chest. All the air left my lungs. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I just stood there, listening. I know, Jennifer said, her voice smooth. "You're doing great, sweetie." Just keep reminding her how much she's forgetting things. She'll be so turned around, she'll think it's her own idea. I'd lived in this house for 42 years. My late husband, Robert, and we bought this house in Greenwich when it was just a shell, and we were just two kids with a lot of dreams. Robert worked in finance, and I was a legal secretary for years before Greg was born. We built this life. Every piece of furniture, every scrape on the hardwood floor, every rose bush in that garden. It was ours. It wasn't just a house. It was our legacy, our safe harbor. Robert passed 3 years ago. Heart attack. Quick, they said. A blessing, they said. But it left a hole so big, I thought I'd just fall right into it. And it's been lonely, I won't lie. The silence in this big house can be loud. But I was managing. That's the word, isn't it? Managing. I had my bridge club on Wednesdays. My gardening. Lord, my hydrangeas were the talk of the neighborhood. I had my friends. And who lives just 3 streets over. We'd known each other since Greg was in diapers. I was perfectly fine. I was 72, not 92. I paid my own bills. I drove my own car. I balanced my own checkbook to the penny just like Robert taught me. And then the slip. That's what they called it. The incident. It was about 2 months ago. I was out back trying to wrestle with a stubborn patch of weeds by the old paving stones. One of them had been loose for years. Robert always meant to fix it. I tripped. It was a stupid, clumsy fall. I went down hard on my right side. Nothing broke, thank heavens, but I sprained my wrist badly. It swelled up like a purple balloon. Of course, I called Greg. He's my only son. He lives over in Stamford, not 20 minutes away. He and Jennifer were here in under an hour. And their faces. Oh, their faces were masks of perfect, loving concern. "Mom, oh my God, look at you," Greg said, rushing in, his coat still on. Jennifer was right behind him, all big eyes and a trembling lower lip. "Peggy, you poor thing. You shouldn't be out here all alone. What if you'd hit your head? What if you couldn't get to the phone?" They insisted. "Mom, you can't be here by yourself. Not like this." Before I could even argue, before I could even say, "It's just a sprain," they were back with suitcases. "We'll stay," Jennifer announced, squeezing my good arm. "Just for a little while. Just until you're back on your feet. We'll take care of everything." And I let them. What mother wouldn't? Part of me was touched, relieved, even. Maybe the house was too quiet. It would be nice, I thought, to have the company, to hear footsteps upstairs, to have someone to talk to over dinner. That first week, it was wonderful. Jennifer cooked. I'll give her that. The girl can cook. Greg handled the yard work. They fussed over me. Mom, sit down, let me get that. Peggy, don't you dare try to lift that. Your wrist. It felt nice. It felt like being taken care of. But now, standing on that staircase, invisible, listening to them, I saw it all. It wasn't a little while. It wasn't help. It was a plan. The laughter. That's what cut the deepest. The sound of my son, my Greg, laughing at how easy I was, laughing about shipping me off to a home so they could, what, live here? Sell it. My blood, which had felt so cold, started to warm up. It started to simmer. I looked down at my hand, still clutching the banister. My knuckles were white. The rings Robert gave me, my wedding band and engagement ring, they were digging into my finger. I didn't make a sound. I just turned around. As silently as I came, I went back up those stairs. My feet didn't make a whisper of a sound on the carpet runner. I got back to my room and I closed the door. I didn't lock it. Not yet. I just closed it. I walked over to the window and looked out at my garden. The hydrangeas were in full bloom. They were beautiful. They thought I was easy to handle. They thought I was a confused old woman. They thought I was done. I took a deep breath, and I thought, we'll see about that. We'll just see about that. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time, just breathing, in and out. The help, as they called it, had started so innocently. Now, sitting in that room, it all replayed in my mind, but it was like I was watching it through a different camera. Every kind gesture, every loving word, it all looked different now. It started with the meals. That first week, it was lovely. Jennifer would make these elaborate dinners, things I hadn't bothered to make for just myself in years. But then it shifted. I'd come downstairs in the morning, heading for the coffee pot, and she'd be there, blocking the way with that bright plastic smile. Oh, Peggy, sit down, sit down. You rest that wrist. I'll fix you a plate. A plate. Not, what would you like? A plate. Usually something bland. Oatmeal. Dry toast. We have to watch your cholesterol. Honey, she'd say, even though my doctor had just told me my numbers were perfect. I'd mention I was still hungry, and she'd laugh that little laugh. Oh, Peggy, your appetite. At your age, you should be eating like a bird. I started feeling like a guest. Then, a child. Then came the mail. This I really should have seen. I've always handled my own affairs. Robert and I, we were a team, and after he passed, I took over. I was proud of it. My desk in the study was perfectly organized. The mail would come around 11, and I'd sit with my coffee and sort it. About 2 weeks into their visit, Jennifer started getting the mail. I'll save you the trip, Peggy, she'd call out. Then she'd come in with the stack, but she'd be sorting it. Okay, let's see. Junk. Oh, a catalog for you. And bills. Don't you worry your pretty head with these. Greg, and I can handle this. Handle it? Jennifer, I'm perfectly capable of paying my own. Of course you are, sweetie. But why should you? It's all so stressful. Computers and passwords. You hate all that. Let Greg set it up online. It'll be so much easier. And Greg would nod, looking so serious. She's right, Mom. It's just simpler. We're here. Let us help. And like a fool, I let them. I thought, maybe they are right. Maybe it is easier. I watched them walk into my study, Robert's study, with my private, personal mail. And I just sat there. The car keys were next. That one Greg handled. My wrist was still in a soft brace, though I barely needed it. I was getting ready to drive to my bridge game. Where are you going, Mom? He asked, walking into the kitchen. It's Wednesday, Greg. It's my bridge game. He frowned. That concerned son frown. Mom, I don't know. Your wrist. What if you have to swerve? You don't have the strength. Greg, it's my left wrist. I drive an automatic. I'll be fine. I'll take you, he said. It wasn't an offer. Just give me the keys. I'll drive. But I need to come home. I'll pick you up. Or better yet, why don't you skip it? Just this once. Jennifer can make us all a nice lunch. I ended up staying home. He didn't ask for the keys again. He just took them. The next day, I went to my purse, and they were gone. I asked him, Greg, where are my car keys? He patted my shoulder. Don't worry about it, Mom. I put them somewhere safe. You shouldn't be driving right now. It's not safe. For you, or, other people. He'd suggested I not drive at night months ago. Now, it was not at all. My world, it just got smaller. From Greenwich, to my neighborhood, to my house, to my chair. But the worst part, the part that makes my skin crawl, was the gaslighting. It was Jennifer's specialty. She was an artist. We'd be sitting in the living room, and I'd say, oh, I remember when Greg was little, we took him to that wonderful beach in Maine. Remember? He was so afraid of the crabs. And Jennifer would smile, so sweetly. She'd reach over and pat my hand. Oh, honey, no. That was Florida. We were just looking at the photo album, remember? And it was lobsters, not crabs. Your memory's getting a little fuzzy, isn't it? She'd say it with such kindness. And Greg would nod sadly from his chair. Mom, she's right. It was Florida. Don't you remember? I'd hesitate. Was I wrong? Maybe I was getting fuzzy. It happens, right? People get old. They get confused. It happened again and again. I'd mention a neighbor. Oh, Peggy. She moved away 5 years ago. I had just seen her at the grocery store last week. I'd talk about a political event. No, sweetie, that happened in the 90s. It was on the news last night. They were so united, so in agreement, this loving little team, and I was the confused, frail old woman they had to gently, lovingly correct. They were turning me into a ghost in my own home. They were making me doubt me. And then the isolation. That was the last piece. My phone, the landline, the one I'd had for 40 years. It would ring. And Jennifer would always get to it first. She'd grab the receiver in the kitchen. Crawford Residence. I'd hear her voice. Oh, hi, Ann. Yes. No, she's resting. She's just so tired these days. I'll tell her you called. Jennifer, I'm right here. I'd say, walking into the room. She'd hang up the phone. Oh, Peggy, you startled me. I was just telling and you were napping. You need your rest. You don't want to overdo it. But I'm not tired. And that was Anne. I know, sweetie. I'll call her back for you later, if you're feeling up to it. She never did. Anne's calls, they slowed down. Then they almost stopped. Why would she call if I was always resting? If I never called her back? They were building a cage, a soft cage, a cage made of cotton wool, and love and concern. But it was a cage all the same. It was suffocating. Every day, the walls got a little closer, and I was letting them. I was so lonely after Robert died, so hungry for family, for noise in the house. I let their help become control. I stood up from the bed. I looked at myself in the mirror over the dresser. I looked old, tired, frightened. They wanted a fuzzy old woman. They wanted someone easy to handle. Fine. If that's what they wanted to see, that's exactly what I was going to give them. I was going to be the most confused, forgetful, easy woman they had ever met, right up until the moment I wasn't. So I went back upstairs. I sat on my bed, looked out at my hydrangeas, and I planned. I was going to be the most confused old woman they had ever seen. I waited about 20 minutes, long enough for them to have finished their coffee, long enough for the chill in my blood to settle into something hard. Then I opened my bedroom door and went back downstairs. This time, I made sure to let my foot drag just a little on the steps. I held on to the banister, like I was afraid of falling. When I got to the bottom, I walked into the kitchen, rubbing my eyes. I made sure to look fuzzy, a little lost. "Oh, good morning," I said, squinting at them. Did I fall asleep in my chair again? Jennifer was at the sink, her back to me, but she turned. That smile. It was like a bright plastic flower. "Good morning, Peggy. You didn't fall asleep, sweetie. It's almost lunchtime. You slept in." "Oh," I said, trying to sound frail. "Oh my, I get so turned around these days." Greg looked up from his newspaper, and he had that look, that sad, pitying look he'd perfected. "It's okay, Mom. No harm done. You were probably just tired. She's so easy to handle," his voice echoed in my head. I just nodded. "I suppose so. I guess I'll just have a cup of tea." I shuffled over to the kettle. And this was the part that made it real. I'd been standing on that staircase, listening. Now I was in the room with them, and I was invisible in a whole new way. They weren't seeing me. They were seeing the home they were shipping me off to. They were seeing a problem that was almost solved. And as I stood there, waiting for the water to boil, they just kept talking. Right in front of me, like I was a piece of furniture, like I was a dog who couldn't understand English. "So, Jennifer," Greg said, folding his paper, Did you call back about that estimate?" "I did," she said, wiping the counter. "They're coming on Friday to look at the roof. But we need to handle the other thing first." She cut her eyes toward me, just for a second. Greg sighed, a long put-upon sigh. I know. It feels fast. Fast." Jennifer's voice dropped. It was low and sharp, like a knife. "Greg, we don't have time. The realtor is coming on Thursday. She cannot be here for that. We need this to look clean. A smooth transition. A realtor. Thursday." My stomach clenched. They were moving. They were really, truly moving. I'll take her out," Greg said, his voice weak. "I'll take her to that place. The park, maybe." Jennifer stopped wiping. She put the cloth down. She turned around and looked right at her husband. "The park? Greg, that's not the plan. The plan is the doctor's appointment. The new doctor I found." I was pouring the hot water into my cup. My hand was shaking. Not from age. From rage. I gripped the cup. "I'll take her to that new doctor you found," Greg said, his voice flat, repeating her words. "He can, confirm. Confirm she's not fit to make her own decisions," Jennifer finished for him. Her voice was so satisfied, so certain. I put the tea bag in the water. I stirred it. "It's perfect," Jennifer said, and she walked over to Greg. She put her hands on his shoulders. "It's all working out perfectly. By the time she figures out we've sold the house, she'll be settled in. She'll be signing greeting cards in the craft room." And that's when she laughed. It was the same laugh I heard from the stairs. That low, quiet, "we're in this together" laugh. It was the sound of my son's life being stolen by this woman. And it was the sound of him letting her, helping her. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't loud. It was a quiet little click. The fear, it was gone. The hurt, it was still there, a big cold rock. But the thing that washed over it, the thing that filled me up, was a pure, cold anger. The fuzzy old woman they were talking to, she vanished. She was still standing there, holding a teacup. But inside, I was back. The woman who ran a legal office. The woman who raised a boy by herself, mostly, while Robert worked all hours. The woman who managed a 40-year marriage and a 3-bedroom house. I turned around. I held my teacup. I looked at them. I even gave them a little confused smile. Craft room? That sounds nice, I said. Jennifer's smile was blinding. See? She'll love it. They thought they were in control. They thought they held all the cards. They had no idea. They had no idea who I was. They had just told me their entire plan. A realtor. A new doctor. A forged signature. I was almost certain of it. They saw a victim. They had just created an enemy. A mother who had her son, a stranger, standing in her kitchen, laughing about her ruin. And I knew I was not going to any home. Not unless I owned it. I sipped my tea. It tasted like ash. I smiled that same fuzzy smile and shuffled my way into the living room to my chair. I sat down and I planned. I didn't confront them. Oh, the anger in me wanted to. It wanted me to stand up, throw that teacup against the wall, and scream, "How dare you? In my house!" But what good would that have done? They'd just look at each other, nod sadly, and say, "See? She's hysterical. She's unstable. It's worse than we thought." No, that was their game, and I'd be playing right into it. My only weapon, the only one I had, was their arrogance. They had to keep believing I was the person they were pretending I was. They had to believe they were winning. So I sat in my chair. I turned on the television to some gardening show, and I practiced my confused face. I let my mouth hang open just a little. I blinked slowly, as if the thoughts were having a hard time connecting. I let my hands tremble in my lap. I was an actress. I was playing the greatest role of my life, the role of the confused old woman. The next few days, they were the longest of my life. I was a spy in my own home. That afternoon, Jennifer came in. "Peggy? Peggy, sweetie." I jumped like she had startled me. Oh, Jennifer. I must have dozed off." "You did, honey," she said, her voice dripping with that fake sympathy. "Listen, I can't find the big silver serving platter. Do you remember where you put it?" I looked at her. I knew exactly where it was. It was in the bottom drawer of the dining room buffet, where it had been for 30 years. I put my hand to my head. The platter? Oh, dear. I just can't picture it. Isn't it in the kitchen?" Jennifer sighed, a small, frustrated sound. "No, Peggy, it's not in the kitchen." "Oh," I said, looking helpless. I'm so sorry. My mind is it's like a sieve these days." She patted my arm. "It's okay, honey. Don't you worry. I'll find it." She walked away, and I watched her go. I knew what she was thinking. She's losing it. Perfect. The next morning, I lost my glasses. I made a whole show of it. I was patting the cushions on my chair. I just had them. They were right here. Greg was in the room. "Mom, what's wrong?" "My glasses. I can't find my reading glasses. I'm supposed to read the mail, aren't I?" He and Jennifer looked at each other. That quick, knowing glance. It was like gasoline on a fire. "Mom," Greg said, walking over. "They're on your head." "I found them." "Oh," I said, my voice trembling. "Oh, my goodness. How silly. I don't know what's wrong with me." Greg put his hand on my shoulder. His hand felt so heavy. "It's okay, Mom. It happens. Don't worry about the mail. Jennifer and we've got it. We've got everything." "Thank you, Greg," I whispered, looking up at him. "My son. My only son. I just don't know what I'd do without you." Every time they exchanged that glance, every time Jennifer gently corrected me about what day it was, it fueled me. It turned that cold anger into a sharp, hot poker. But the performance, It was only during the day. The nights were mine. The first night after I heard them, I waited until I heard their bedroom door click shut down the hall. I heard the low murmur of their television. I waited another hour. Dead quiet. I got out of bed. I didn't turn on a light. I walked over to my door, and I locked it. It was the first time I'd locked my bedroom door in this house. Ever. It felt strange, but it felt good. Then, I went to my closet. In the back, on the top shelf, under a stack of old winter blankets, was a shoebox. Robert's old emergency kit. He was always a prepare-for-the-worst kind of man. Inside was a flashlight, some batteries, a first aid kit, and an old pay-as-you-go phone. A little brick of a thing. He'd bought it years ago, just in case the power goes out for days. Peggy. Just in case. I hadn't seen it in years. I pulled it out. I sat on the floor of my closet. I held my breath, and I pushed the on button. The little screen lit up. 2 bars. 80% battery. I could have cried. Thank you, Robert. I stared at the phone. My fingers were trembling, but not with age, not with confusion. I had to call someone. I couldn't do this alone. They had isolated me, cut off my phone, taken my keys. They thought I was on an island. They didn't realize I had a boat. I thought about calling the police. But what would I say? My son is trying to put me in a home. They're laughing at me. They'd think I was the crazy one. They'd come. They'd see Greg and Jennifer. So loving, so concerned. And they'd see me, a confused old woman. No, I needed proof. I needed an army. I had one person who Jennifer hadn't been able to completely cut off, only because she was too stubborn to be cut off. Anne, my best friend for 40 years. She was tough. She'd call, and when Jennifer said I was resting, and would just say, well, tell her to call me the second she's done resting. She knew something was off, but she didn't know what. It was time to call in my army. I looked at the little phone. It was 11:30 at night. Too late. No, not too late. And was a night owl. Always was. My thumb hovered over the numbers. I knew her number by heart, just like I knew my own. I pushed the buttons. It rang. Once. Twice. Hello. Her voice was sharp. Annoyed. And I whispered. I was in the closet with the door shut. And it's Peggy. There was silence. A dead stop. Peggy, why are you whispering? What's wrong? Is it Greg? Are you okay? No, I whispered, and the word just broke. A tear finally escaped. Just one. No, I'm not okay. They're trying to put me in a home. They're trying to sell my house. I'm coming over, she said. Not. What? Not. Are you sure? Just, I'm coming over. No, I said almost too loud. No, you can't. They're here. They're asleep. They can't know. They can't know I know. Another pause. I could hear her thinking. Okay, she said. Her voice was low now, matching mine. Okay, Peggy, what do you need? I need help. I need a plan. The library, she said instantly. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Can you get there? He took my keys. I whispered. I can't drive. Then find a way? And said, she wasn't being cruel. She was being Anne. She was giving me a spine. Fake a headache. Say you need aspirin. Say you need. I don't care. A prescription. Find a way to get Greg to drive you. Get inside the pharmacy. And you tell him you'll be a while. Then you walk out the back and you come to the library. It's 2 blocks. Can you do that, Peggy? Can you do that? I took a deep breath. The confused woman was gone. Yes, I said. Yes, I'll be there. Good. We're going to fix this, she said. And she hung up. I sat there in the dark, in the closet. I felt, I felt like I'd just taken my first breath in 2 months. They thought I was a puppet. They had no idea I was about to cut the strings. I put the little phone back in the shoebox, under the blankets. I slept for maybe 2 hours. The rest of the night, I just watched the clock. 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I had a plan. But now, I had to execute the first part of it. I had to get to, and I got up at 7, just like always. I put on my fuzzy face before I even opened the bedroom door. I went downstairs. Greg was at the table with his laptop. Jennifer was at the counter making a smoothie. "Good morning," I said, my voice a little shaky. "Morning, Mom," Greg said, not looking up. "How are you feeling, Peggy?" Jennifer asked, that bright, fake voice. "Oh, I put my hand to my temple. I have such a headache. Just a splitting headache." Jennifer stopped the blender. "Oh, you poor thing. I've got some Tylenol. You just sit down." This was it. The first test. "Oh, no, dear," I said, waving my hand weakly. The Tylenol doesn't work for me. You know, my stomach. I have that special kind, the buffered one from the pharmacy. I think I'm out." Jennifer frowned. I could see her thinking. This was not part of her plan. Her plan was to keep me here, to keep me resting. "Well, I can run out and get it for you, Peggy," she said. "Oh, no," I said. You don't know the right kind. And the air. I think I just need a little air." I looked at Greg. "Greg, honey, I hate to be a bother, but my head is just pounding. Could you just take me to the CVS? It won't take a minute." Greg looked at Jennifer. She gave a tiny, almost invisible nod. "She's fine. She's not a threat." He sighed. That long-suffering son sigh. "Yeah, okay, Mom. Just let me finish this email." "Thank you, dear," I said. You're such a good son." The drive was awful. It was 5 minutes. He had the radio on, some loud talk show. I just sat there, my hands clasped in my lap, acting like my head hurt. He pulled up right in front of the CVS on Greenwich Avenue. He didn't even park. He just stopped. "Okay, Mom," he said, turning to me. The engine was still running. "I'll wait right here. You just go in, get your aspirin, and come right back. And don't wander off. Don't wander off. Like I was a toddler or a dog." "Okay, dear," I said. I got out of the car. My legs felt like jelly, but I did it. I walked into the CVS. The automatic doors slid open. I didn't stop. I didn't look at the aspirin. I didn't look at the magazines. I walked right past the pharmacy counter in the back. I saw the sign. Exit. The back door. The one N and I had used 100 times as a shortcut to the parking lot. I pushed the metal bar. The door opened. I was outside. The air in the back alley. It was the best air I had ever breathed. I was free. I walked fast. My heart was hammering. Now it was hammering. I was terrified he'd get impatient, come in, see I was gone, and find me. I walked the 2 blocks to the Greenwich Library. I pushed open those big, heavy doors. And there, at a table in the back, by the history section, and she wasn't knitting. She wasn't the crying with me type, and was a retired IT project manager. She'd managed a team of 50 engineers at IBM. She was the most practical, no-nonsense person I had ever known, and I had never been so happy to see her in my life. She looked up. She didn't smile. She just nodded. There was a laptop open in front of her, and a legal pad. I sat down. I was shaking. "Okay," she said, her voice low. "Talk. Tell me everything. From the top. Every single thing they said." So I told her. I told her about the sprained wrist, the suitcases, the mail, the car keys, the fuzzy memory, and I told her what I heard on the stairs. The home, the realtor on Thursday, the new doctor. She just typed. Her fingers flew over the keyboard. She wasn't taking notes. She was making a case. When I was done, she stopped. She looked at me. Okay, she said. This is bad. But it's good. Good. And how is any of this good? It's good, she said, because they're arrogant. And they're stupid. They're talking right in front of you. That's our in. And in for what? For everything, she said. She turned the legal pad around. Here's the plan. We have 3 goals. 1, evidence. 2, a paper trail. 3, a lawyer. She pointed to the first one. Evidence. Your word against theirs. Right now, it's not enough. They've painted you as confused. We need to use that. We need their words. She reached into her bag. Her big canvas tote bag. She pulled out something small. A little black square. What is that? It's a USB charger, she said. A perfectly normal, boring USB charger. Except it's not. It's an audio-activated recorder. The battery lasts for 3 days. My mouth went dry. And I can't. Isn't that illegal? What's illegal, Peggy? She said, her voice sharp. What they are doing is illegal. It's called undue influence. It's called elder abuse. What we are doing is called gathering evidence. You live in that house. It's your house. You have a right to know what's being said in it. You're going to take this. You're going to plug it into the kitchen outlet. The one right by the coffee machine. She knew my kitchen as well as I did. They have their little meetings there, right? You said so. I nodded. Good. You plug it in. You leave it. And you be the frieliest, most confused woman they have ever seen. You let them talk. And they will. She then pointed to the next thing on the list. Paper trail. While you're doing that, I'm doing this. I'm looking up this new doctor Jennifer found. I'm looking up realtors in Greenwich who have new listings. I'm going to find out who they're talking to. And the last one, lawyer. I already made a call. A friend of a friend. Mr. Evans. He specializes in this. He's a shark, but he's not cheap. But he's not interested yet. Not without evidence. This little black square. This is what gets Mr. Evans interested. She slid the recorder across the table. You have to go back, she said, before Greg comes looking. I looked at the recorder. It was so small. It was everything. What if I can't? I whispered. Peggy, she said, and she reached across and put her hand on mine. Her hand was strong, not soft. You fell off a loose paver. You didn't break. You just sprained your wrist. You are not broken. You're just sprained. Now you stand up. You're going back to that pharmacy. You're going to buy a bottle of that buffered aspirin, the most expensive one they have. And you're going to get back in that car. And you are going to be the best damn confused old lady this town has ever seen. Can you do that? I looked at her with her laptop and her plan and her belief. I took the recorder. I slid it into my pocket. Yes, I said. Yes, I can. I went back to the CVS. I bought the aspirin. I got back in the car. Took you long enough, Mom, Greg said on his phone. Oh, I'm sorry, dear, I said, my voice trembling. I just got so turned around in there. He didn't even look at me. He just put the car in gear. It's fine, Mom. Let's get you home. Yes, I said, clutching the bag. Let's go home. I got back in the car. I was clutching the little paper bag from the pharmacy like it was a lifeline. I felt Greg's eyes on me for a second, but he just sighed and turned on the car. Let's get you home, he'd said. Home. The word felt sour. When we got back, Jennifer was waiting, standing by the front door with her arms crossed. Well, she said. Not to me. To Greg. It's fine. She just wandered around, Greg said, walking past her. Oh, Peggy, Jennifer said, her voice like fake honey. You gave us a little scare. We worry about you. That's all. I'm sorry, I said, looking at the floor. I held up the bag. I got my aspirin. That's nice, sweetie. Now, why don't you go sit down. Rest. Greg and I have some boring calls to make. This was it. The little black square, the secret weapon, as and called it, was in my skirt pocket. It felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I had to get it from my pocket, into the kitchen, without them seeing. I shuffled into the kitchen, just like they expected. I think I'll make another cup of tea, I said, my voice watery. Another one? Jennifer called from the living room. You'll be up all night. I ignored her. I went to the kettle. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely feel it. They were in the living room. I could see them. Their backs were mostly to me. They were murmuring to each other. Now. It had to be now. The outlet and told me about was low to the ground, right by the kitchen counter leg. It was where we'd plugged in the Christmas tree lights. It was dark. Hidden. Perfect. I turned on the kettle. While the water was heating, I fumbled. I was getting a teacup. I let my hand shake. I let the spoon slip. It clattered onto the floor. Darn it. Oh, darn it all. I mumbled, just loud enough for them to hear. You need help, Mom? Greg called out, annoyed. No. I've got it, I said, and I bent down. Slowly, grunting, like it was a huge effort. My back was to them. I was low to the ground. My hand fumbled on the tile floor, searching for the spoon. And with my other hand, the one with the recorder, I pulled it from my pocket. My fingers were slick with sweat. I found the outlet by feel. I pushed the little black square in. It was done. I grabbed the spoon. I stood up, groaning for effect. Got it, I said, waving it. Jennifer didn't even look up. She was on her phone. I made my tea. I went back to my chair. And I waited. The next 3 days were a masterclass. I was frail. I was confused. I was easy. I was the best actress in Greenwich. Peggy, what day is it? Jennifer would ask, just to test me. Oh, it's Tuesday, isn't it? It's Wednesday, honey. Wednesday. Oh, I'd say, silly me. I get so turned around. And I'd see that glance, that quick, satisfied glance between her and Greg. It's working. She's losing it. Thursday was the worst. That was the day the realtor was coming, just like they planned. Mom, Greg said at breakfast, it's such a beautiful day. I thought I'd take you to the park for some air. The park. I said, yes. Jennifer chimed in too brightly. A nice, long walk. You'll love it. They were getting me out of my own house so they could sell it. I had to sit on a cold park bench for 2 hours, acting frail, and out of it while my son pushed me in a wheelchair I didn't even need. He'd rented it for the occasion. Just to be safe, Mom. I sat there, bundled in a blanket, while strangers walked by and gave me that pitying look, the same look my son had, and all I could think about was what was happening back at my house. What lies was Jennifer telling this realtor? I was an actress. I smiled weakly. I dozed off. I played the part. And every second of it, every glance, oh, Mom, it was like a drop of fuel on that fire inside me. I did it for 3 days. 3 days of forgetting words. I need the thing, for the toast. The butter, Mom? Oh, yes. The butter. Silly me. 3 days of letting them help me to the bathroom. 3 days of them handling everything. Finally, Friday night came. I had to get the recorder. I used my headache excuse again. I said I was going to bed early. I went to my room. I locked the door. I waited. Midnight. The house was dead quiet. I crept out. I didn't use the pay-as-you-go phone. I didn't need to call yet. And was smart. She'd known I wouldn't know how to use a laptop for this. She'd given me a simple, old-school earphone. It plugs right into the side, Peggy, she'd said. Just push the little button. It'll play. I went to the kitchen. The house was dark. My heart was in my throat. I knelt down, just like I had 3 days ago. I pulled the little black square from the wall. I didn't listen in the kitchen. I couldn't. I went back to my room. I locked the door. I went into my closet, just like when I'd called, and it was the only place that felt safe. I sat on the floor in the dark. I plugged the little white earphone into the side of the recorder. I put it in my ear. I pushed the button. At first, it was just noise, clinking dishes, the kettle, my own voice sounding confused. Then I heard them. It was Wednesday night. I was asleep. Their voices were clear. Jennifer, the realtor, was thrilled. She said the bones are fantastic. She's pricing it to move. We need to get the mother situation cleared up. Greg, I know. The doctor, the appointment is for Monday. Jennifer, good. He'll sign the papers. He knows the deal. He'll declare her unfit. And once she's unfit, we can move her. And we can sign as her guardians. I felt sick. He knows the deal. A paid-off doctor. But then it got worse. I kept listening. This was Thursday, when I was at the park. A new voice. The realtor. Realtor. It's a beautiful property. The situation with your mother is sad, but it means we can move fast. You're sure you have the power of attorney? Jennifer's voice. So smooth. Oh, yes. We have it. All in order. She gave it to Greg years ago. She was so forward-thinking. She knew. She was getting fuzzy. I stopped. Power of attorney? I never signed a power of attorney. Robert and we had wills. Simple wills. Everything to each other, then to Greg. I never gave Greg that kind of power. Never. And then I heard the one that explained everything. It was just Jennifer. On the phone. Her voice was different. It wasn't soft. It wasn't loving. It was hard, like steel. No, you don't understand, she was saying. The payment is due on the 1st. I told you. A pause. Yes, the power of attorney is all in order. It's signed. We're good for it. Another pause. Don't threaten me. You'll get your money as soon as the house is sold. I didn't understand. What payment? And then I heard Greg. Later that night, he was panicking. His voice was high. Jennifer, what is this? I saw the mail. A final notice. You said it was a business loan. And then Jennifer's real voice. It is a business loan. For my lifestyle brand. My website. And it's fine. We were a little short. We had to use the house as collateral. Collateral. Greg was shouting. My mother's house. Greg, calm down. I signed your mother's name. It's fine. Once we sell the house, we pay off the loan, we pay off all of it, and we use the rest to get her into that nice place, and we are free. We're done. The blood just drained from my face. You forged her signature. Greg whispered. I saved us, Greg, she snapped. That brand was tanking. We were about to lose our house. Now, are you with me or not? There was a long, long silence. And then Greg, my son. Okay, he whispered. Okay, Just tell me what to do. I sat in the dark, in my closet, with a little white earphone in my ear. It was never about me. My sprained wrist, my fuzzy memory. That was just an excuse. A sideshow. It was about debt. It was about fraud. They weren't just trying to put me in a home because I was a burden. They were trying to sell my house to cover up a crime. They were about to be arrested. They were forging my name, and they were going to hide me in a home so I could never tell anyone. I took the earphone out. I sat there. My son was laughing. I thought, but this was so much worse. I knew everything. I really did. I knew everything. I made it through the weekend. Saturday, Sunday, they were the longest 2 days of my life. I was a ghost. I played the part. I was the most confused, frail, agreeable woman you have ever seen. I let Jennifer help me with my food, cutting it into little pieces I didn't need. I let Greg explain the TV remote to me, the same remote I'd been using for 5 years. I just nodded. I smiled my fuzzy smile, and inside, I was a block of ice. I had the little black recorder, the evidence back in its shoebox safe under the blankets. I'd called, and from the closet, on the pay-as-you-go phone, one more time, late Saturday night, it's worse than we thought, and I'd whispered, it's not just a home. It's bank fraud. They forged my name. They're trying to sell the house to cover a crime. There was a long, long silence on the other end. I thought she'd hung up. And, are you there? I'm here, she said. Her voice. I'd never heard it like that. It was cold. The doctor's appointment. It's still Monday? Yes, I whispered. 9 a.m. He's going to declare me unfit. No, and said, no, he's not. Her voice was like steel. Mr. Evans, the shark, he's very interested now. We'll be ready. Peggy, just be by the door at 9. We'll handle the rest. So I waited. Monday morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. I couldn't stay in bed. I got up. I did something I hadn't done in months. I took my time. I put on my good slacks, my blue silk blouse, the one Robert always said brought out my eyes. I put on a little lipstick. I wasn't going to be fuzzy Peggy today. Not when it counted. I came downstairs at 8:30. Jennifer was at the counter pouring coffee. She saw me, and she was surprised. I could see it. Her eyes widened, just for a second. Well, Peggy, she said. Her voice was that fake sweet voice. Don't you look spry this morning? It's a doctor's appointment, dear, I said. I was still playing the part. Just a little longer. I wanted to look nice. Greg came out of the kitchen, and my heart, it hurt. He looked terrible. He had dark circles under his eyes. He hadn't shaved. He wasn't my son. He was a scared little boy doing something awful, and he was jangling his keys. That sound, that impatient, I'm in charge sound. Jingle, jingle, jingle. Ready, Mom? He said. He didn't even look at me. He was looking at his watch. Let's get this over with. He walked to the front door. He opened it. Come on, Mom. The doctor's waiting. This was it. I walked into the entryway. That entryway Robert and I had tiled by hand. I looked at the floor. I looked up at Greg, holding the door. I looked at Jennifer, who was standing right behind me, like a guard. And I stopped. I didn't walk out the door. Mom, Greg said. His voice was annoyed. What is it now? did you forget something? I turned around. Slowly. I looked at Jennifer. I looked at Greg, my son, and I reached into my pocket, my slack pocket. I pulled it out, the little black recorder. I just held it in the palm of my hand. I'm not going anywhere, I said. My voice, it didn't shake. It wasn't fuzzy. It wasn't weak. It was mine. It was the voice they hadn't heard in 2 months. It was clear. The silence. It was so loud. Greg, he just froze. He stared at the recorder. He didn't understand. Not yet. His hand, the one with the keys, it just stopped moving. But Jennifer understood. Her face, that bright plastic smile, it didn't just fade. It cracked. It shattered. Like paint on a wall. Her eyes, they went from loving concern to hate. Pure, black hate. It happened in 1 second. What is that? Greg stammered. He looked like a child. Mom, what is that? It's a recorder, Greg, I said quietly. I heard it all. I heard about the realtor on Thursday. I heard about the doctor who knows the deal. I heard about the lifestyle brand, Jennifer. I heard about the loan. I heard you forge my name. Greg, he deflated. That's the only word for it. It was like someone just pulled the plug on him. He stumbled back. He hit the wall. The keys, they just fell out of his hand. They clattered on the tile. He just stared at me. Mom, but Jennifer, she didn't deflate. She lunged. She was fast. She moved like a snake. You senile old, she screamed. Her real voice. It was ugly. It was screeching. You bitch. She tried to snatch it. She grabbed for my hand. Give me that. I just pulled my hand back. I wasn't scared of her. Not anymore. It's too late, Jennifer, I said. The recordings, they're safe. They're not just on this. She raised her hand. I think she was going to hit me. My son's wife. In my entryway. Her hand. It was in the air. And just as her hand was at the top, the doorbell rang. It wasn't a polite ring. It was a push. Long and hard. Dying dome. We all froze. Jennifer, her hand, it was still up. Greg, he was just white. Like a sheet. He was just staring at the door. The doorbell rang again. Ding dong. Ding dong. Impatient. You better get that, Jennifer, I said. My voice, it was calm. Greg, he slid down the wall. He just sat. Right there on the floor. Jennifer, she was trapped. Her face, it was awful. It was rage. She turned. She stomped to the door. She pulled it open. And there was, and my friend, and she just stood there in her sensible coat. And she wasn't alone. Standing next to her was a police officer, a Greenwich police officer in full uniform, and a man in a very expensive looking dark blue suit. He was holding a briefcase. Jennifer. She just stared. Can I help you? She whispered. The man in the suit, he didn't look at her. He looked past her. At me. Standing by the stairs. Peggy Crawford, he said. His voice was deep and calm. I nodded. I couldn't speak. I just nodded. He stepped into the entryway. The officer, he stepped in behind him. And she stepped in behind him. My name is Mr. Evans. The man said. He looked around. He looked at Greg, sitting on the floor. He looked at Jennifer, she was shaking. I'm the lawyer and retained for you. He looked back at Jennifer. I believe we have some things to discuss. He glanced at the police officer. Officer, he said, his voice was so clear. You might want to wait. We're about to discuss bank fraud and forgery. Bank fraud and forgery. When Mr. Evans said those two words, the world just stopped. The air in the entryway was so thick you could have cut it with a knife. Jennifer, who had been a storm of rage just a second before, just deflated. She made a sound like a balloon, letting out air, a high-pitched, thin whine. Her face, which had been red and twisted with anger, just crumpled. She sank right there on the entryway rug, put her face in her hands, and started to make these awful, dry, sobbing sounds, rocking back and forth. Greg, my son, he didn't move. He was still propped against the wall by the door, his face a pasty, grayish white. He looked at me just once, and his eyes were completely hollow. There was no anger, no sadness, just nothing. He looked like a man who knew the game was completely and totally over. The car keys he'd been jangling, the keys to my car, had fallen from his hand and were scattered on the tile floor. The police officer stepped forward. He was very calm, very professional. He looked at Greg, then at Jennifer on the floor. Mr. Crawford, Mrs. Crawford, he said, and his voice was firm. I'm going to need you both to go into the living room and sit down. We have some questions. Jennifer just sobbed. Greg didn't seem to hear him. Sir, the officer said, taking a step toward him. Stand up straight and move into the living room, please. Slowly, like his joints were rusted, Greg pushed himself off the wall. He shuffled past me, his shoulders slumped. He looked like an old man. He sat on the edge of the sofa, the one Robert and I had picked out together, and just stared at his hands. The officer motioned to Jennifer. Ma'am, please, in the living room. She got up, stumbling, and fell onto the armchair, still hiding her face. In that moment, and was at my side. She put her arm around my waist, and I leaned on her. I hadn't realized how much I was shaking. You're okay, Peggy, she murmured. You're safe. Mr. Evans, the lawyer, was all business. He nodded to me. Peggy, let's go into the study. We can talk in there. He turned to the officer. My client will be in her study. She is the victim here, and she'll be giving you her full statement. And I went into the study, and I sat in Robert's old leather chair. It still smelled faintly of his pipe tobacco. It was comforting. I gave Mr. Evans the little black recorder. He took it, nodding, and pulled out a fresh legal pad. For the next hour, while the officer stood by the door, I told them everything. I told them about the slip, the keys, the mail, the way they told me I was fuzzy and confused. I told them about the conversation on the stairs, the realtor, the new doctor. As I was talking, I heard the other officer, his partner, talking to Greg and Jennifer separately in the living room. I heard Jennifer's voice get loud and shrill. It wasn't me. It was his idea. He pushed me into it. And then I heard Greg's voice. Not shouting, just dead. Just shut up, Jen. It's over. Just shut up. By noon, they were gone. The officer explained to me, very respectfully, that given the audio evidence and the forged loan documents Mr. Evans had already faxed to his office, they were being taken in for questioning. This wasn't a family squabble anymore, he said. This was a criminal investigation. I watched through the front window as they were led out. Not in handcuffs, not yet. But they were put in the back of the police car. Greg didn't even look back at the house. After they left, the silence was enormous and made me a cup of tea, a real one, strong, the way I like it, and we sat at my kitchen table. The house felt huge, like it had doubled in size. It was finally empty. It's done, Peggy, and said quietly. I just nodded. I couldn't speak for a long time. It wasn't joy I felt. It wasn't even relief, not yet. It was exhaustion, a deep, heavy exhaustion right down to my bones. Mr. Evans was, as and promised, a shark. He moved fast. He got an emergency restraining order filed that same afternoon. Greg and Jennifer couldn't come within 500 feet of me or my house. He contacted the bank's fraud department. He sent them the recording of Jennifer admitting to the forgery. It didn't take long for them to freeze the fraudulent loan and start their own investigation. I didn't have to see them again. I didn't have to go to court, not for that. Mr. Evans handled everything. The charges were serious: conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. A few days later, I was cleaning out the guest room they had been using. Their suitcases were still there, packed for the vacation they had planned to take with my money. I dragged them, one by one, to the front porch. I didn't call Greg. I didn't call his lawyer. I just put them outside. The next morning, they were gone. I walked back into my house and closed the door. I listened. All I heard was the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall and the hum of the refrigerator. The silence that I used to find so lonely, now it was the sweetest sound in the world. It was my quiet. It was the sound of my life back under my control. It's been 6 months since that terrible morning. My house is quiet now, but it's a different kind of quiet. It's not the lonely, empty quiet that I felt after Robert died. It's a peaceful quiet. It's my quiet. The first thing I did, the day after they were gone, was call a handyman. He came and he fixed that loose paving stone in the garden. I watched him reset it, cementing it firmly in place. It felt like I was setting a piece of my own life right again. I walk out there every morning now with my coffee, and I don't have to look down. I don't have to be afraid of tripping ever again. My keys are back in my purse, right where they belong. I went to the DMV all by myself and got a new license. My picture is terrible, of course, but it's mine. I drive myself to the grocery store. I drive myself to my bridge game. And I meet for coffee on my porch every morning. We just sit and talk. Sometimes we talk about what happened, but most of the time we talk about the news or the neighbors or what we're going to plant in the spring. It just feels normal. And normal has never felt so good. Mr. Evans, that wonderful, sharp lawyer, was a whirlwind. He filed emergency injunctions and restraining orders. Greg and Jennifer weren't allowed within 500 feet of me or my house. He immediately contacted the bank's fraud department. And with the recordings, well, they didn't stand a chance. It turned out Jennifer's lifestyle brand was just a mountain of debt. She had taken out a huge, high-interest business loan, and when she couldn't pay, she had forged my signature on a home equity line of credit for almost $150,000. The bank was just days away from starting foreclosure proceedings on my home when Mr. Evans stepped in. They were charged Jennifer for the fraud and forgery and for elder abuse. Greg, my son, Greg, was charged as an accomplice. His lawyer tried to argue he was manipulated, that he was under undue influence from his wife. But the recordings didn't lie. He knew. He heard her admit to the forgery, and his only question was, what do I do? He chose. He helped her. He agreed to have me declared unfit to cover their crime. I didn't go to the final hearing, and went for me. Jennifer got 4 years. With the forgery and the clear, malicious intent, the judge was not kind. Greg, because he had no prior record, and he eventually pled guilty, got 2 years with probation after 18 months. I haven't seen my son since that day in the entryway. He's written letters. They come with a return address from a state facility. I keep them in my desk drawer. The one Jennifer used to go through. I haven't opened a single one. I don't know if I'm angry or just empty. Maybe I'm not ready to forgive. Maybe I never will be. And I'm learning that that's okay. I'm not the same woman I was 6 months ago. I'm not that fuzzy old lady. I went to my bank and had a very long talk with the branch manager. A lovely young woman helped me set up all my accounts with new passwords. She showed me how to check my balances online on my own computer. I do it every single morning, right after I read the news. I even joined a class at the community center, Seniors for Digital Safety. You'd be amazed what you can learn. It's full of people, widows and widowers mostly, all of us learning how to protect ourselves. I found out my story. It's not as unique as I thought. You spend your whole life looking after your children. You raise them. You love them. You do anything for them. You never, ever think that one day you might have to protect yourself from them. It's a lonely, terrible feeling. It makes you doubt yourself. We're always told that blood is thicker than water. But what do you do when the blood is the very thing that's trying to poison you? I wonder, have you ever felt that? Have you ever had someone, maybe even someone you love, try to make you feel small or fuzzy or incapable? Have you ever felt that what they call help feels a whole lot more like a cage? I'd really like to know what you think. Please leave a comment below. I read every single one, and it helps to know that none of us are alone in this. If this story touched you, I'd be so grateful if you'd give it a like and maybe share it with someone who might need to hear it. And please subscribe to our channel for more stories just like this one, stories that need to be told. We have another video ready for you right now. You can see it on the screen. Click on it, and I'll see you there. Thank you so much for listening.